Hi, it's Mayor Karina Smith-Gatke with the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands, and this is your council catch-up for November the 14th. Our meeting was held on the Tuesday evening, as the Monday was a day of holiday in lieu of Remembrance Day, which was on Saturday. So the meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. We played our national anthem as always and adopted the agenda. We just moved the mayor's update up to prior to our in-camera part of the meeting. There were no declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature, and then we moved forward with a delegation from Chris Clark and Jonathan Taylor for one Isle of Gremlins. This is later on in the agenda to be approved as far as allowing a rebuild on an island that is actually has one roll number but two separate islands. So without getting into too much detail, they were coming forward to add additional context to the application that had been made. The consent agenda, as far as the adoption and receipt of minutes, we approved lots of minutes in regards to council meetings, committee of adjustment, and that moved forward. Staff reports, there was a planning report in regards to renaming Squaw Point Lane to Canoe Lane, which moved forward. Municipal responsibility agreement with Hux Marina. That is in regards to the septic system that will be in place for the new development that is slated to begin probably in fall of 2024. That basically is our agreement with the owner of the property that they will maintain that septic system. When you're talking about density of that magnitude, we want to make sure that the septic system does not fail and contaminate the water or anybody else's land, so it needs to be maintained. And we have other municipal agreements, responsibility agreements with other commercial businesses who have these types of systems, and so far it's worked well. We make sure that they get maintained on an annual basis. We also hold securities to make sure that if they default, that we have money in order to maintain them. So we also had a resignation of a committee member and a request to appoint a new member. So we completed that. Terry Fody is no longer part of the Heritage Committee, but now Mark Jameson is. We updated our youth bursary program, and that was just administrative. We changed the expectation on the application to be a bit more broader, to open it up to more youth that might be available to actually apply for it. And they declared the vacant seat on the Heritage Committee, which we then obviously appointed Councillor Jameson, as well as the 2024 conferences. Council made some decisions at a previous meeting as far as who would like to go to what conference, and part of this is very important as far as development for the council to stay above and beyond just the status quo. We learn things about new techniques that are being used on roads, or what grant programs they're using in other jurisdictions that are having great success as far as community improvement. There's lots of reasons we would attend these conferences, as it allows us to gain a network of people that we might be able to call upon to help better our own community. We also amended the flag protocol policy to add a couple of additional dates and to allow us to utilize a little bit more flexibility in the event that there is something that we need to remember as a province, as a community, and it just makes it a little more structured. So that was passed as well. Information items. So finance report, the operating and capital status report for September 30th. This was good news. We are right on budget. We have not overspent this year. We're on target to make our budget for this year. There's at this point, no signal that we would be over budget at this point in time. So we're hoping for a modest surplus by the end of the year, barring no major disasters. We also received a thank you letter from the Gananoque Curling Club in regards to the community grant program. So our community grants were awarded at the last meeting and have gone out to the user groups. And we are really happy to continue that program and support community development through our volunteer groups and the different things that are happening for children and seniors. The other item for information was the Township of McKellar call for an amendment to the Legislation Act. This may seem kind of technical and not really a big deal, but this letter is requesting that the provincial government amend the Legislation Act for planning purposes, and the amendment is actually more administrative than anything. But the issue is many of our small towns here in Ontario do not have newspapers anymore, or the circulation is so sparse that we can't count on the legislation that requires all planning applications to be distributed and published in written publications, hard copy newspapers, as per the legislation. In some municipalities, it's not even an option. There's very few newspapers left, if any. So what they're asking for in the amendment is to amend it to allow digital notification as well, which, based on how we're digesting information these days, that's not going to change and will continue to be how we will go in the future. So it's asking that the legislation be amended to allow for digital advertisement as well as newspaper, as long as they've covered a number of bases, both with digital and newspaper. So the next is action required items. An application for a communications tower, Rogers Communication at 280 Highway 15 was, we provided a letter of concurrence from the council, meaning that they've met the protocol, which allows them to move forward with building a communications tower, which is hopefully a good thing. If anybody goes to Highway 15 and 32, you know that we have a very deep dead zone there, and this will hopefully rectify that. Also, there was the zoning bylaw amendment application to amend the RI zone 19 zone, file number D14 2023-0121, Isle of Gremlins. And the motion reads that council approves the zoning bylaw amendment attached to planning report SR-188-23 as Exhibit K to amend the provisions of the Island Residential Special Exception RI-19 zone to permit the renovation/reconstruction of an existing dwelling and attached marine facility. If you have interest in how we handle things when it comes to building permits and planning applications on the water, this is a really good example of decisions that were made long before we were here, but we are trying to work with the landowners to renovate or reconstruct what is already there. But because it doesn't actually meet planning guidelines based on today's expectations, we have to look at it a little bit differently. But the good news is these landowners will be able to reconstruct their cottage, and they're actually decreasing the amount of marine facility that will be there, and that was sufficient to gain approval. Also, the Director of Operations brought forward a village drainage and urbanization design, and the motion read that the council authorize staff to engage J.L. Richards for the township's portion of the design for drainage improvements and village urbanization for Lansdowne Village in the amount of $243,754.88, inclusive of the net HST. One might wonder why we're doing this. It's really important. If you live in the village of Lansdowne, you know that we have challenges with stormwater management. There's a number of reasons why that has happened over the years. One of the reasons is that when CN put the third rail line in down at the bottom of the hill, they also blocked a drain at the bottom of Miller Street, which has caused some major challenges. We also have some drainage issues at the east end of King Street, which need to be rectified. But the whole point of this redesign is to ensure that when the roads have to be redone, that they're done in such a way that it will deal with the stormwater and deal with it in a way that doesn't flood anybody's basement or somebody's backyard. The second part of that motion is that council authorize staff to engage Concept Dash Inc. for the design of drainage improvements and village urbanization for Rockport Village in the amount of $76,727.04, inclusive in net HST. So if you were part of the Rockport consultation when we were talking about how we'd like to see things done in the future as far as pedestrian movement, car traffic, and speed limits and parking lots, there was a lot of different things considered with that initial work that we did along with the people who live in Rockport. This is to put some of the suggestions that were made during that consultative process into actual practice. So we're going to be looking at trying to figure out how to delineate walking paths, drainage, where the roads are going to go, parking. All of these things are being considered. And keep in mind, it's not just the village of Rockport, it's actually going up in behind the Rockport Schoolhouse, up on Old River Road and down to Birches Lane. So it takes in a huge catchment area. It's not just the village of Rockport. We also discussed the tender for Leeds Fire Station 2. This tender was deferred. Council felt they needed to look at this tender as it is a significant tender, more than what we had anticipated due to COVID prices still remaining quite high. We had anticipated, I believe it was 4.5 million, and the lowest bid tender came in at 5.8. So here we are, having to replace a fire station that is desperately needed in the North End, but it has come at a much larger price tag. So council wants an opportunity to look at it within the context of the full budget for 2024. So it has been deferred to December 14th. The next one is the administration report commissioning fee. Council approved a fee for $20 per document commissioning services for inclusion in the 2024 general rates and fees bylaw. Why is this important? Well, right now we don't charge. If you need a document that needs to be commissioned, you bring it in, we commission it, you walk out the door. But it is said that maybe we're known for not charging, whereas other places do charge, and we're happy to do this for locals. Of course, there is a risk that we take on if somebody is trying to do something nefarious and they come in with fake ID or something to that effect. We're taking on the risk and the liability. So we've put the $20 fee on there to dissuade people from coming from out of town to use our free service, as it does take time and effort from our staff out of their busy day. Councillor Kelman brought forward an inclusion awareness initiative, and the motion read that council continue to support inclusion awareness, the two-spirited lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, 2S LGBTQ+ communities in the township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands, TLTI, by implementing the following initiatives. Identify suitable locations for an installation of at least one Progress Pride flag crosswalk in TLTI by June 1st, 2024 in honor of Pride Month, and design or engage a consultant to design an all-weather decal incorporating the TLTI logo and the Progress Pride flag to be placed permanently on exterior doors of TLTI buildings, including but not limited to the township office, community buildings, libraries, and fire stations, etc. That was passed, and so we are very proud to not only accept but also welcome those who have diverse backgrounds, no matter how they identify. So I was very pleased to see that go through as well. There was a notice of motion from Councillor Lackey regarding a pedestrian walkway along the Lyndhurst Bridge. This is a very contentious issue for the locals in Lyndhurst and has been for quite some time. There is concerns about safety crossing the Lyndhurst Bridge if you're walking from one side to the other because of the width of the bridge. There's no really delineated area for pedestrians. However, there's a number of challenges here. The county is the one who is in charge of the road and the bridge. They are planning. It is on the docket based on a number of years that the Lyndhurst Bridge is supposed to be revitalized and rehabilitated, and it should be considered as part of that overall rehabilitation. So this motion was actually defeated, and council is going to be bringing back a subsequent notice of motion compelling the counties to do something in regards to this, as it is their roadway. Councillor Lackey also brought forward a notice of motion regarding the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, that staff work with the St. Lawrence Parks Commission to explore the opportunity of acquiring the parkettes within the township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands. So as you drive down the parkway, you will see a number of parking areas. Landon's Bay is one of them. There's one down at Pools Resort Road. There's a number of them along the way. However, St. Lawrence Parks Commission is sort of tapped out when it comes to managing the maintenance and upkeep of those particular areas. There's no real garbage collection, that sort of thing. And so Councillor Lackey came forward with this motion to explore how we may be able to take over those in the future, and that was passed. Also, there was a request to meet with our Member of Provincial Parliament, Steve Clark, regarding the Enbridge Gas to expand natural gas infrastructure here in the village of Lansdowne. We've had a number of conversations with Enbridge Gas over the years, but if you remember the earlier motion in regards to the revitalization and the urbanization of Lansdowne, we will be also taking that into account as part of that. So we will be meeting with our member as well as talking about the work that we'll be doing going forward for the Village of Lansdowne. We went in camera regarding personnel matters about an identifiable individual. We did the CAO's performance review. We came out, I received direction from the council and provided the CAO with his review. We did the mayor's update, which was really just a number of information items regarding local events. I won't reiterate them here, but if you go on our website, on our Facebook page, Instagram, all of our socials, you'll find a list of events that are happening here in the next couple of weeks. So if you're looking for parades, if you're looking for tree lightings, and everything in between, please check out our website and our social media pages, and you'll find all the information there. So the last thing was the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands, and that is your council catch-up for November the 14th.